NHL discussion, Maple Leaf struggles and Oilers concerns, Craig Button analysis. As promised, we're kicking off the week with a great conversation with our NHL analyst, Craig Button. Craig, here's something that has to be frightening if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Just 1 year after winning the Atlantic Division, the Leafs now find themselves dead last in the Atlantic, and it's already March. So the question is simple: is it time for a retool, or is it time to tear everything down and start a full rebuild? Maple Leafs, retool or rebuild? Craig Button: I believe it has to be a rebuild. I'm not someone who believes in completely burning everything to the ground, but you do have to rebuild the foundation. The reality is this: going from first place to last place tells you a lot. This team is not a Stanley Cup contender anymore. 4 years, the promise around the Maple Leafs was that they were close, that they were building toward a championship. You could debate why they fell short in previous seasons, but at least there was real hope. Right now, that promise is gone. They're not a contender, and just as concerning, they don't have a deep prospect pool. They don't have a stockpile of draft picks either. So the big question becomes, how do you actually get better from here? Free agency alone won't fix this. Free agency is not a reliable way to build a true Stanley Cup contender. If the Maple Leafs just tinker around the edges, making small adjustments here and there, they're only fooling themselves. And if they go down that road, they risk sliding back into the kind of struggles the organization experienced in the 1980s, which was not a great era for this franchise. I go back to 2014, when Brendan Shanahan stepped in and said the organization needed a rebuild. Mike Babcock came in and warned that there would be pain. That's the reality the Leafs are facing again. Look at their recent games. Coming back from the Olympic break, they faced the Tampa Bay Lightning and couldn't compete. The next night they played the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, and they couldn't compete there either. Then they played the Ottawa Senators and still struggled. So the question becomes, what teams can they actually beat right now? They're not built for success in the present, and the process needs to start again if they want to become contenders in the future. Edmonton Oilers, are they still contenders? Meanwhile, the Edmonton Oilers have reached the Stanley Cup final in each of the last 2 seasons, but now people are starting to question whether they're still legitimate contenders. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games, and perhaps more concerning than the losses is the number of goals they're allowing. After a recent loss to the San Jose Sharks, players admitted the defensive issues are becoming a major problem. One player summed it up simply: we're just giving up too many goals. It's hard to score 5 or 6 goals every night. Another added, in this league, if you score 3 goals you should win most nights. If you score 4, you definitely should. You shouldn't need 5 or 6 goals just to win a hockey game. So Craig, the coach sees the issue, the players see the issue, but fixing it isn't easy. The Oilers already tried addressing goaltending by bringing in Tristan Jarry, and that move hasn't worked out the way they hoped. If you're GM Stan Bowman, how do you improve this team before the playoffs? Craig Button on Oilers fixes. There are really 2 parts to this. First, the goaltending move hasn't helped. In fact, it's been worse. So simply going out and getting another goalie isn't necessarily realistic. Then you look at the defense. Jake Wallman hasn't been very effective playing on the right side. Donnell Nurse is struggling and needs more stability around him. One solution might be moving Wallman back into a more comfortable role, maybe on the left side of the bottom pair, and then finding a right-shot defenseman to strengthen the blue line. Even a small upgrade there could make a difference. Then there's the forward group. We all know how dominant Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are. When the Oilers are down by a goal late in a game, the talent they can put on the ice, with players like Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, is incredible. But the problem is depth. They need more support behind their stars. If Stan Bowman can add a third-line center and maybe strengthen the defense, it doesn't have to be a blockbuster move, but it could still improve the team. Oilers still have an advantage. Craig added one more key point. Even though the Oilers aren't as strong as they were 2 years ago, they still benefit from playing in the National Hockey League Pacific Division. The Pacific Division is the weakest division in the NHL right now. There's no dominant team running away with it. Even the Vegas Golden Knights are struggling with their goaltending. So when you look at the path through the Pacific, the Oilers could absolutely get